Welcome, 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 welcome everybody. We see Robbie is number 1 today and KK number 2, and we have Dan coming in the bronze place. Bronze medal status for Dan.
Awesome. Good to see you guys in the house. Robbie, you get a gold star. We know how you like those. And Miss KK, good to see you. Hello there, Dan Fulgrim. Scheduled a live. I like it. We like it too. Yeah, has us wondering about stuff. What took out the dinosaurs? Even in our area, you guys, for the last 2 hours, the sky really, there's not too many clouds up there, but we have been hearing some big booms. And you would think right away, well, it's just got to be thunder, right? I don't know. They're really loud. They're shaking the house, and there's not a lot of clouds out there. I'm not sure.
It's weird. It feels very weird out there. A lot of our regulars, a lot of our family members are sharing that they're experiencing very weird, unusual things energetically, experiencing all sorts of strange things going on with things in the sky. Oh, it's fascinating right now to see all that's happening. Lots of buzz again about UAPs and UFOs and booms and asteroids and meteors. And we have a Melinda Wilson. Yay! Good to see you, Melinda. Good to see you, Susan Donahue. Claudette Malspina, good evening. Foxy Lotus. Christine Love in the house. Wonderful to see you guys. The energy feels way off, Susan says. It feels weird. I agree. It feels weird. It just feels very surrealistic right now.
Yeah, the energy does feel very strange, Susan. A lot of people just really feeling off, very ungrounded. So all I can do is encourage everyone to realize it's just like everything else. It's going to pass. Como Kaniko, good to see you. It's going to pass. Just keep taking care of yourself. And there's nothing in this world that stays forever. It might be uncomfortable for a little while, but it's going to pass.
Well, sending you some energy, Robbie. Deep breath, visualize crystal clean, pure white light flowing into the lungs. It's amazing what we can do just with our intention and also combining it with the breath. It's very, very powerful practice, and we send you healing energy and love, brother.
Yeah, anything that out there's usually something like it. So don't give up, just keep trying.
Yeah, and again, to me, whenever anybody talks about having like these allergic type reactions, anything that's an indicator that you need to detox, really detox. And in this world, we always need to be detoxing. What do we got there? Oh, Ham, 3790. Good to see you as well.
Great. Good to see you guys. Yeah. A lot of things going on, a lot of weird stuff too, stuff that we can't outright explain that's going on across the board. And we do work with folks, and when you start to see this pattern emerging, and then we come to the lives and we see the pattern continuing, and that is a pattern of kind of like rocky difficulty, emotional upset, things that are just they're not flowing. There's no flow, really. It's just sort of irky jerky trying to get through stuff, like the very first time you ever drove a stick shift, kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. And before we get going, just want to say, if you've never checked out evolutionaryenergyarts.com to find out who we are and what we do, please do. The website is transforming. We actually have a sister website going up as we speak, and a lot of things in the works. And again, we are energy workers, Reiki master teachers, Qigong practitioners, pranic healers, and we have other things that we do too. We do life coaching, again, Vedic astrology, and we can help in any way we can. If we can help, we would love to help anybody that needs help. It's just part of who we are. This was our first video, which was talking about 3 very unusual different objects that may indicate some advanced technology, perhaps even extraterrestrials, advanced beings that have been on the planet before. This was on Evolutionary Energy Arts, which is the original channel. We tend to go live on EEARTS and trying to keep it consistent, even though we do have 3 channels on YouTube. And we also upload to Rumble, Brightian, BitChute, and of course Patreon and Ko-Fi as well. So, I was been watching the Schumann, and the Schumann was pretty quiet for quite a period of time. And then it started to get very, very active, as you can see over here. This whiteout patch, is indicating that there's something going on with the collective consciousness of the planet. The planet itself is rising and ascending in consciousness, and it's going to mean that we're going to have a different perspective on things. Again, we are, in our beliefs, we believe that we're changing yugas, we're changing the era, the age. Everything is truly changing. You could see it, you could feel it, you could sense it. If you're old enough to remember, I swear, as a kid in the 70s, the sun was definitely more yellowish orange than it is now. It just feels like everything has changed in the 60 years that I've been on the planet. So, here you go. We had that one burst, but otherwise it's been relatively calm. There's things that are not calm, and this is, why we're looking at this first, because this one, a 6.1, this is in the Gulf of Mexico / America. This is unusual. Now, there have been bigger ones. I know we had mid-7 in the Cayman Islands, which is not too much farther down below Cuba. But up in the Gulf itself, this is the biggest quake going back to like the 1880s, like 100 and almost 50 years. And this is on top of last night's lead story, which was a 7.8 that many people were calling 8.6, 8.2, 8.3 over in the Philippines. Now we have this 6.1 in a much more unusual place to get a big quake. What is going on here? It feels like something major is building. So looking at the article, historically strong earthquake just struck off of Cuba's northwest coast on Monday. According to official reports, shaking parts of Cuba, Mexico, and Florida. Yeah, Miami was shaking, guys. The USGS measured the quake at a magnitude 6.1 at a shallow depth of 16 miles, 26 kilometers. Its epicenter 104 kilometers northwest of Mantua, Cuba, about 2 to 4 hours by car from the capital of Havana. Okay, so just think geopolitically, is there anything going on with Cuba? Obviously there is. The people of Cuba haven't really had power. I mean, they've run out of oil and gas, according to reports. They've been so sanctioned that, this nation is, I don't even know if you could classify it as third world. I mean, they're going back to the Stone Age in Cuba. And Cuba is also the biggest bullseye right now as the next target for potentially the U.S. to military operate therein. Yeah, we had the U.S. go into Venezuela and snatch Maduro. There was, if you guys forgot, we were just talking also a couple of lives ago about Ecuador and all those boats blowing up in Ecuador. Now you have a 6.1 earthquake, and I think back to Tesla in New York City with his earthquake machine. So, again, we were just talking about over here in Ecuador, a whole bunch of boats were blown up, apparently in a U.S. military exercise, or, some combination of U.S. military versus cartel exercise. It was substantial. I mean, there was like 20 boats up in flames on a beautiful beach in Ecuador. And over here in Venezuela, Maduro was snatched. Now, Venezuela made a agreement with Russia and China, an economic and military agreement that had caught the attention of the U.S., and obviously, we know what happened. Maduro is no longer in power, and Venezuela is operating with its number two, its VP, so to speak, as a puppet right now of the U.S. government. That's just kind of, I think, the best description we could really, truly, honestly give you. So what's going on now? Is this just natural? Or was this some sort of earthquake machine? Was this technology? Does the technology exist? In my mind, the technology exists to trigger an earthquake like this. So if they're triggering it, is it a warning to Cuba? Perhaps. Maybe it's just even a test to see what's possible. Or could it be signs of the new Madrid waking up? There's these 3 earthquakes, which I was talking to one of our family members who lives in Tennessee in this area, said, there was 3 quakes kind of surrounding you. That's a little unusual, but it does happen, and these are not large, 1.7, 2.4, 2.3. But again, there's ancient fault lines going through the Appalachians. And back in 1811, 1812, over here in the New Madrid area, we had 2 megaquakes that literally shook church bells in Boston. It fell all the way down to Florida. They were enormous. And they were also accompanied by signs and visions. They were accompanied by fireball asteroids, comet, actually. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye when we see all these apparently non-connected events just seem to be curious coincidences taking place. I don't really think anything's a coincidence. And by the way, this is showing quite a few aftershocks. We have 41 quakes right now in 24 hours over in the Philippines after that big quake, whatever it was, maybe an 8, officially 7.8, but that feels like it's downgraded. Now, when we look at the most recent ones, 4.7, 4.8, 5.1, 4.6, 5.3, so they're kind of hanging steady. They're hanging steady there right around the 5.0 area. They haven't trailed off yet. But when you look at this, it started with that big one that probably in my mind was somewhere around an 8, maybe a little bit bigger. And then you had a couple of 6s, and then over here at 6.5, and over here at 5.8, following up on it. So it's still letting off steam. Kind of looks like a pentagram, doesn't it? The shape of them. This is just very, very interesting. So what do we have over here? Half the world away. What's up with this? Is this going to be the biggest one, or is there potentially a bigger one coming? There have been pretty big ones at times in the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean, Caribbean, I should say. When you look at the Caribbean plate, it's relatively small, and it is destined to disappear at some point in time. As you can see, these other smaller plates that are literally over time being destroyed, recycled. Of course, we're watching Cascadia and the San Andreas as well. They say that both are long overdue. 1700, we had a mega quake, 9.0, 9.2, somewhere like that along those lines up here that literally sent a tsunami that wiped out many Native American villages along the coastline. it just feels like we are in very, very unpredictable times right now.
It does, well, one thing I think we can all agree on is the energy is different. There's something in the air which makes you wonder, okay, so when is that other shoe going to drop? How heavy is it? What is that going to look like? These quakes are huge. We've been having some very large earthquakes lately. What's up with that? What's up with that? And then the Schumann, well, today, but before, when we had that huge quake, the 8.2, I think the Schumann was just silent. It was silent. So I don't know. Is there a pulsing energy? Is there something going on? Something to... is there something going on? We have to me, I like to look at the animals, and Rama and Sita are very, very sensitive and acting up at night. What's up with that?
It just seems so many people are reporting that their animals are
a lot of
not
people
acting right.
reporting that their animals are not acting right. And I'll pay way more attention to an animal than I will a human, because humans, we're very reactive anyway, and just what's going on in your general day-to-day can kind of make you reactive. But when the animals start doing it, that's when you really listen.
How many times, do you go into the news and look and you see this caption, Orlando, Florida, rocked by a big earthquake? What? That sounds like a different reality. It almost sounds like an impossibility, but no, it actually can happen. So people felt it in Orlando. Southwestern Florida felt it. And National Weather Service Jacksonville said there's no tsunami threat. But it has received reports of shaking being felt as far north as Jacksonville. Tampa as well. Buildings in Miami were apparently evacuated due to shaking. And then a Florida resident showed his home shaking on X. Think about that. Jacksonville's way up here. It's just over the border. This was felt pretty far and wide. Very unusual. Very, very unusual. Again, this is the biggest one in just about 150 years. When I just did a little search, what was the biggest earthquake ever within the Gulf of Mexico? Well, the largest earthquake ever recorded in the Gulf of Mexico within the last 100 years was today's, June 8th, 2026. This intraplate earthquake, occurred approximately 65 miles northwest of Mantua and was felt across Florida, Cuba, parts of Mexico. No significant damage was reported. That is good. And this one was the strongest in recent history. There was a 6.4 earthquake near Veracruz, Mexico in 1959. That was potentially the strongest known in the Gulf's recorded history. And historically, there was also a 2006 5.9 to 6.0 as well. It was even felt in Louisiana. Still, things feel weird. The energy feels weird. I think people are sensing that there's something big happening. I just also wanted to point out, because there was 3 times, I believe, that we had a 3.9 magnitude quake show up off the coast of Florida. Now, when I searched just now, they were only talking about the one that was officially recognized as being the U.S. Navy doing a shock trial to test out how the hull construction was on a new vessel. So they detonated a 40,000 pound bomb, which generated a 3.9 magnitude earthquake. This is going back to June 20th, 2021. So, this always hit me as weird. And of course, I always think of all the threats of tsunami bombs that have been made in years past from Russia. And their news agencies with the potential of, again, causing tsunamis. If you remember that whole episode that happened more than once, threatening to flood the UK out. So here you go. No significant tsunami. I just wonder if there is something else that this is leading towards. What are you guys feeling out there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think now more than ever we need to go within and kind of search inside for more answers, because we're not going to get anything straight from the media. I think a lot of things are being covered up. Looking at all the men going in and out of the manholes, all of the explosions that are going on. The oil refineries, the farms, everything. It's like death by a thousand cuts here in the United States, and it's just kind of ongoing. And it's got to be going somewhere, because they're hitting like fairly vital organs here for our functionality. And we're not going to get the truth. We're just not going to get the truth. We're going to get what they want us to know when it comes to anything. Yeah, that's what's going on.
Yeah, I wonder if there's anybody on ships in the area that felt that. Meanwhile, we also have really unusual weather patterns still persisting. Intense heat in some areas. We've talked about the heat wave up in the UK. Here you have dry thunderstorms adding ignition risk in New Mexico. Critical fire weather develops across the western U.S. As you can see here, there's quite a bit of red there. So, the potential for some severe fires to develop is there. Again, it always seems like we're either being faced with, flood or fire, instead of finding that nice balanced weather that seems to be lacking at this point in time. Dangerous heat forecast from the plains to Ohio Valley. Yeah, I think shows that we're 89 now, but I think 94 tomorrow. So it's going to be getting warmer. But here you have heat indexes being forecast: Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Texas, between 104 and 108. Yeah, it doesn't take long to have heat stroke in those temperatures. So you have to, be aware of that, hydrate properly, and, give yourself a break from the heat if you're starting to feel a little woozy, a little dizzy. Yeah, it's something you don't want to mess with.
Oh my gosh, stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water and just stay that way.
Absolutely. Just looking over here, look at some of these topics. Portugal breaks national May temperature record, 104.5 degrees Fahrenheit in Portugal, 40.3 Celsius. Paris, unprecedented May heat streak. France experiences record-breaking temperatures. Record heat in the UK too. We see this pattern developing. Spain had the deadliest May for heat-related deaths since monitoring began back in 2015. It's just, it's one thing or another happening. And then we got just weird things that I think some people won't even notice, won't think anything of. But I know our KK will, because KK was talking about portals and wondering if portals opening or closing. I wonder if the earthquake is a side effect of a Stargate portal being opened or something coming through. Now, for the masses, the NPCs, if such a thing exists, which may mean, those people that are just so busy with their life, they've never taken a moment to actually wonder about things and look into things and realize that, well, what is CERN doing? What is CERN about? They just want to collide these particles and see what happens. Well, more and more people are catching on to the whole concept of stargates and portals. In fact, it seems that many of the wars on the planet may really be about trying to control certain stargates. And we are in an unprecedented place. This will be the 2-year anniversary on the summer solstice of a treaty that's no longer going to be in effect, that seemed to had given us the illusion that we were alone in this world to a degree, that's gone now. And, now it's like, who's going to really fully disclose first? And of course, we've had disclosure. You have so many different governmental personas that have come out and admitted things after they've left their positions. Admitted to, having alien bodies and, retrieved crashed vehicles, and even talking about portals opening and closing, beings coming and going. CERN shuts down at the end of this June. This is going to be a long one. The last long shutdown started in 2019. Then the plague upon the land happened. It's going offline again. It's not going to restart until 2030. Wait a minute. There was an agenda 2030, wasn't there? So this is going to be closed until Agenda 2030 it will be realized one way or another, whether it's a total miss, which I think is going to be the case, where I don't think they're going to get even close to any of their objectives because humans are waking up. So is it really upgrades, or, as he says here, Joey Pepperoni, did something already come through the portal? And, BP Earthwatch has been doing a whole series talking about this and other things like this.
Yeah, the ancient intelligence, and I do think that there is going to be something come of that. I do see a Miss Trina sighting in the house. Trina, big hugs, big love. Stay at the end. We'll do prayers, girl. Sending you so much love. CERN. It's kind of it's a big deal. What's going on? Agenda 2030. What's going to become of us? I've always had this funny feeling about the little AI that we use now, like Claude, Chat, things like that, are going to merge with a more ancient AI. And I don't think that that's going to be a blessed union. I do think that I don't think it's going to be very good things for us. And I think that's where we need to stay grounded and keep ourselves grounded and not let ourselves be taken to places that are not aligned with our best interest. I really think the technology nudges people in directions that are not in our best interest, but it nudges so slowly that, I don't know, somewhere inside of us, if we're not paying attention, we think it's okay to go against what is best for us, what is truly, truly best for us. So I think we just need to stay vigilant, be true to ourselves. Seriously, take good care of your body, eat good food, honor your temple. I think those things are all going to matter, and it's all going to help. And oh my gosh, through this time, don't just stay hydrated for the summer heat. Stay hydrated because it's good for your energy body. It's good for that plasma that we are all made of, and it spreads your energy farther. It makes your energy body stronger. And one good way to stay hydrated, not just for the summer, but for your energy body, is add a splash of aloe vera to your water. Not much, just a splash, and that can help saturate the cells. It's very, very good for the cells. So I think hydration is going to be more important than we realize at some point.
We're talking about portals and stargates, and before we go, again, I want to ask everybody, please do send healing energy to Grace and also to Trina and the whole family. Again, there's just so many people that are facing these health challenges. It's just been incredible. It's a minefield out there with, navigating everything from the food, the water, things like ticks, with all the new different diseases popping up everywhere. And we're going to look at some of those things. It's just, it's just very disconcerting, and it really feels like what we got to do is try to survive these times so we can thrive in what's to come, because I think it's going to change dramatically. dramatically, but I think, it's always darkest before dawn, and that's kind of where we are right now, as the light is shining on the reality that has been covered over, totally covered over by the dark matrix, or that which we call the dark matrix, which is within a natural matrix. I don't think that this world has to be the way it is. Not at all. I think it can change and transform really quickly. When we're talking about portals, it feels to me like Skinwalker Ranch. You probably heard about that. It's widely theorized to be the site of an interdimensional portal, or like a Stargate. They've uncovered so much strange phenomena. They have seen countless UAP, UFOs, apparently going in and out of portals. And they've even encountered something that seems to be the shape of a wormhole itself, like a torus field, that's there. And, to me, it's pretty obvious that this seems to be an area where underneath the ground, perhaps the Draco, the reptilians, and the Greys, and it very well be the U.S. military, have a base where they're working together. Why would they uncover this? Because when you look at Skinwalker Ranch and, the people that are leading the charge here, the lead investigator, his dad worked for NASA. He worked for NASA. He is as inside of an insider as they come. And, the current owner bought it from Bigelow, Bigelow Aerospace. And again, there's more NASA ties there. In my mind, this is part of the disclosure process. This is part of them letting us know the real reality that's on the planet. And that's that we're not alone. Many other beings are here. Some of them are as native as we are. And ultimately, we ourselves are actually of an alien extraterrestrial origin when you look at it anyway. But, again, this is running side by side along with disclosure. It's just another part of the disclosure process. And I think it's very, very real. Just as I think CERN is very, very real. And I do think what's going on with CERN is pretty much the exact same thing that was going on with Atlantis, where it eventually led to the destruction of Atlantis.
Oh, I definitely agree with that one.
Yeah, I mean, you have the same entities doing it all over again. This time it's going to come out differently. And again, the last time they shut down was right before the plague upon the land, which shut us all down for a while, different degrees depending on where you were in the world. And now they're shutting it down again until 2030. So obviously the question is, did they expect us to have another lockdown? What's that lockdown going to be for? And what's the real purpose of it? The long shutdown 3 is going to last 4 years. It's going to feature some major works. This includes dismantling a small portion of the 27 kilometer, which is 16.7 mile long ring that makes up the LHC. The goal is simple: to massively increase the number of collisions happening in the particle accelerator. Okay, so they want to more than double the amount of collisions, leading to new insights into fundamental physics. Are they trying to up the volume of what they're able to pull through a portal? I'm just theorizing.
Yeah, I don't know.
It makes you wonder, why would they want to risk shutting it down for 4 whole years in order to give it a massive upgrade? Are they really shutting it down? Because I will share that there's some out there that say control of the planet is changing hands. The old is being replaced by a new system, and different entities are going to perhaps be having more say in what's going on the planet than have been in control for all of our lives, and perhaps for many, many generations. Is there really a changing of the guard? Well, I do believe we're changing yugas, so I think it's very possible.
I do believe there's going to be a split, and I think we're feeling it now. We're feeling, either the people that we're close to, we're going to get closer, or we're not. We're not going to be able to hear, relate, or understand other people. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with them. It's just, it's a split. It's a frequency change. There is no judging it any more than you judge fruit for not ripening fast enough. You don't judge a tree for, whether it grows too fast or too slow. It's a frequency thing. And that's what we have going on. And we'll see what this all brings. I think all of us we have a certain understanding when it comes to the frequency, how it's changing, what's going on. We can really see and know and understand each other to a pretty high degree. And then there's going to be other folks who just see and understand something completely different. And that's going to bring about a certain separation where we might not recognize certain people, or they won't be in our timeline at all in any way, shape, or form. And I just have to know that some families, not everybody's going to go in the same direction. Why, thank you so much, Max Meeks. We appreciate you. Appreciate that, and all the thumbs up, and everyone in the chat for all your support. We're coming up on strange times.
Two words come to me while Cindy was talking, and that was plausible deniability. Plausible deniability. What if we witnessed some extremely strange things? Like, literally, what if we actually saw portals? What if there's mass sightings of portals opening up in the sky over New York City? Over LA, London. If they have it shut down, they would say, wasn't us. I don't know what that was. It wasn't us, right?
Yeah, I know. The portals could show themselves, open up and close. And, some people say it never happened. After all, two people can look at the same exact thing and have two completely different stories. And that's more of a matter of frequency.
Yeah, again, we do see with our third eye. But the question is, are we actually projecting this reality with our two eyes? And are we all seeing the exact same reality? Or are we seeing it, again, from our own perspective, which is unique because every soul is unique? So, it also does make me wonder, and I saw you guys saying, well, maybe there's more than one CERN, right? Or what if, again, plausible deniability, where they know there's going to be major things happening and they don't want CERN to be blamed for it because more people are waking up to the fact that it's machinery in many people's minds to open up portals and allow certain entities to transverse perhaps vast amounts of space just, instantaneously. Nicholas Hulsher, he does a great job. He's an epidemiologist, an administrator at the McCullough Foundation. He is on top of things every day on Twitter and other places. Multiple agencies and hospitals just war-gamed Ebola and MERS outbreaks, specifically for the World Cup, which begins in 3 days. Okay, World Cup. Is there any symbolism in World Cup that we could take? The World Cup runneth over. Yeah, so they're wargaming. We know how that works. November, right? November 2019, they wargamed the plague upon the land, and then, a little bit, about a month later, then it actually happened. 3 days, World Cup starts. And meanwhile, the National Special Pathogen System just simulated a MERS outbreak emerging from the tournament. New York City Health just ran an Ebola drill. We remember Event 201. Oh, yeah, how can you not remember Event 201? So, again, yeah, is it Ebola season already? I still have my hantavirus decorations up. Yeah, it is just so insane. Meanwhile, there's reports, we've heard about it in the Congo, and we've also heard many people saying there's nothing happening in the Congo. We look to 1984, the movie 1984, and the book. In the movie version, they clearly show that there's a war underway and there's events transpiring that are completely manufactured, part of a script. More and more people are, again, catching on. And thank you so much, Max, for all your support and being here. Now, meanwhile, Google's new CAPTCHA plans will create a two-tier internet only accessible to those with approved devices. I get this all the time, especially when it's like they know when I'm researching certain topics that they don't want me to do a video on. They'll give me sometimes like 8 CAPTCHAs in a row. It's like just insane. Is this kind of a denial attack in a way? Never mind Fancy Bear or the NSO group. The biggest threat to open internet today is from the big tech corporations, on which has come to depend. For what else are we to conclude, given that Google appears to be working on a system to lock large parts of the internet behind a new form of CAPTCHA, which is completely automated public Turing testing to tell computers and humans apart, designed not to tell apart humans from bots, but instead make an unperson of anyone who doesn't own an approved Android or Apple device. Okay, we also had a conversation today with a family member who is looking for parts for their 28-year-old car, 29-year-old car. And, the conversation came up that there's an awful lot of junkyards there going up in fire. And I do think that there's certain technology, like we saw, right, in the Obama movie, where these Teslas get overridden by somebody and they block off the entrance exit for Long Island. So in a public emergency, people were blocked from escaping or blocked to getting on. I do think, again, everything is foreshadowed in the movies. It's a way for them to karmically escape things that are planned. Could all this be pieced together in one much bigger plan?
Looking at the AI and what it's capable of right now, and some of the AI that they say they have not released that has the ability to just break into Bitcoin with really not too much of a problem, are they going to, I don't know, somehow, I mean, acting like a computer could not get past the CAPTCHA devices where it says, oh, pick out the bicycle. So a computer can't figure that out. I don't know, a computer won't figure out how to make a simulation of a phone, owning a phone. It's just a certain amount of programming. I don't know. I think it seems more of a thing for total and complete control to separate the haves and the have-nots even a little bit further. Just like medically, if you can't afford to do things naturally, you just go without, which is really, really unfair to a lot of people who are truly, truly trying and are absolutely ready to change and change their diet and change how they do everything. They just simply cannot afford to go to a healthcare provider that will actually help them heal. They can only afford to go use the insurance and go in and use the doctors that are only going to give them prescriptions. That is another level of separation. So this is just another level to, pick us apart and make life a little more difficult, for those who they want to do good, but they only have access to things that are, that are very 3D and they're very controlled. They only have access to the controlled matrix to make their lives better. And it's just going to get worse. And it's so frustrating. Not everyone, it'd be nice if you could just walk away from computers, but not everyone can have a self-sustaining farm. Not everyone can do that. So here we are.
Yeah, maybe, some very, very tech savvy people could create a parallel internet. Again, just like maybe we could create our own parallel system in which we barter and trade, or eliminate their ability to be parasitic entities, taxing us on everything and anything, nonstop fees, nonstop taxes. Again, it's just insane. But I think it's going to just explode in their faces. Really, I don't think it's going to ever. I don't think they're going to get what they want. Not the entirety of the population, but maybe they can get a percentage that will follow them blindly off of a cliff.
Susan, that's such a good point. New Earth advanced healing technology is available to all. I think the problem right now is it would create too much of a competition, because you would have people who are built with so much character, because hard times build character. Period. I mean, they make people very colorful and very resourceful. And what if you were to give those high-end technologies to those that have all the built characters? There you run into something of a mismatch, and you run into the competition. And that's what they don't want. They do not want competition, because those with character could take over their world. They really could.
Is that what you mean when you're always calling me quite a character?
Yeah.
So just think about this part, right? 6G AI brain chip rollout imminent. China just approved the world's first commercial brain chip. President Trump recently ordered the acceleration of 6G deployment with the goal to operate implantable technologies. Nokia's CEO says by 2030, smartphones will be implanted directly into your bodies as 6G becomes fully operational. I will not take a brain chip and merge my consciousness with AI to participate in society. I agree. No, I mean, we are totally ready for that realization. And if we have to step out and just, be on our own island, then we'll do it. And we'll survive for as long as we can, as best as we can. We will not allow them to control us with their technology. There's no way. Absolutely no way, no how. And I saw Sin Havoc was talking about that they're going to, eliminate the cell phones in general. And some of you guys were bringing these things up. This is it, so this is it. They're going to want to make it so cell phones, think of the past, you have to be implanted. That's their biggest dream come true, is everybody gets implanted with technology that they could then override our own will.
And then that song, Every Breath You Take, comes to mind. They're going to be watching you, because it's going to be implanted. Right now, they are working on making sure that every vehicle that's being driven has a kill switch. And that, how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to push out all the old cars. Eventually, the older cars will not run, or they won't have the parts to make them run, and they're burning up all the junkyards. So eventually, people will be forced into, if you have a family and you need to drive to the store or go to work or something, you're going to have a car. I mean, not everyone can have a horse and live like the Amish. I wish I could. I would definitely take my horse to work every day and just live like that if I could. But yeah, they're just pushing out the old technology. And if you want to exist, let's say there's some medical necessity, you need this technology, or medical necessity, you need a vehicle to get somewhere for life-saving procedures, you're going to have to use their technology. And it's very forceful, and it's just really horrible.
Yeah, Emma, keep watching, because we have another topic that you're talking about there that we're going to bring up. So yeah, here you go. 2030, smartphones, they won't exist, but their equivalent will be implanted directly in the body. You want to talk about, that is so bold. That is so presumptuous. They have to get us ready to accept something like that. So this is why it's going to be a bumpy 4-year ride, because they're going to make life as testy as possible to get us to accept that. Fewer Americans say democracy is central to the country's identity. Well, this poll found a lot of things. A lot of people are disillusioned. It's pretty simple. It's the Great Awakening. You know, when I think of my parents, both told me as a kid, you're lucky to live in the very best country in the world. There's no country like our country. I mean, they were totally on board with the American dream. And this is, a couple that they both worked. They never owned a house themselves. They never made any real money, but they were hard workers and they were very honest people. And honest to a fault. Great people. And they loved the country. This is part of the unveiling. When you really look at the doings under the guise of, the country, the United States, all the wars, the interventions, the regime changes. How about, Operation Sea Spray, spraying our own population in San Francisco way back in the 50s? And, how about the Tuskegee Airmen, what happened there? How about MK Ultra? How about, we could go on and on and on with things that are not great, that are despicable, deplorable, embarrassing. And now more people are recognizing the reality. What we were brought up with is just simply not accurate. But the reality is, it's kind of been very similar in many other countries. In fact, I don't think you could find really good leadership anywhere in the world. I think that will change, though. I think we'll have a totally different way of doing things once we get to a true free world, because, what we say and thought of as the free world, it's not really free if your say doesn't count. If you go and demand something not happen, and people do that in numbers, the vast majority of people don't want something to happen, and they make it happen anyway, you're not free. It's just an illusion. Only about 1/4 of Americans say the U.S. stands above all other countries in the world. That's it now. Only 25% say that this is the best country in the world. Wow, boy, did that change. Again, when you look at these surveys, again, they a lot of times they only take 1,000 people, a couple thousand people. So, again, you can make what you can out of it. But we know people are wakening up, and they're understanding that 97 out of 100 senators had their campaigns funded by AIPAC. We knew there was a uniparty, but I don't think most people knew exactly how much of a uniparty. 97 out of 100 received money from the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. This was founded in 1954 originally as the American Zionist Committee for Public Affairs. So 97 out of 100 senators were funded by this group. Isn't it obvious why they vote the way they do?
Yeah, it's a mess.
That's just blatantly obvious. They are all on the take. So, how do we switch that? Well, make sure 97 people don't get reelected. They got to be replaced. But the problem is, they're only going to be replaced in this system by other people that are on the take. And that's just the reality that we are finding ourselves faced with.
I agree.
No, it is a system that is one that it's more than rigged. It's just really a travesty. Mike Johnson admits Republicans were going to have to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security next year. But when you look at how much we spend on the military-industrial complex, that's always going up. And in fact, it just increased by the greatest amount we've ever seen.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Let me pull that up just to show.
Yeah, we're in a situation where the cards, you guys have heard the house always wins and the cards are stacked against us and all these things. And it's like the only way we can get through it really is to come together in a meaningful way. What does that look like? It means that, there's certain sacrifices are going to have to be made for something else.
look at this. You know, the U.S. military is spending. It's just through the roof. So U.S. defense expenditures were $916 billion in 2023. When I first had the channel in 2017, that number was somewhere around 600, 6 and change, 6 something, 650-ish, 650 billion. 997 billion 2024, 954 billion 2025, and now 1.5 trillion by 2027. Yet there's no money. You're not gonna like. I'm probably not gonna. I don't know. I might not ever see any Social Security for all those years that you put into it, and it isn't that much in the first place. The U.S. continues to spend more on defense than the next 6 countries combined, accounting for roughly 33% of total global military expenditure in 2025. Yeah, it's not being spent on defense. It's an offensive thing. It's an offensive expenditure. At least he did change the Department of Defense to Department of War, because that's what it is. And, you know, again, they're just taking away any semblance of a free society, because the reality is they do what they want whenever they want, as long as we go along with it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then we have a massive political earthquake happening. Congressman Massey just called for an official investigation into Israel's false flag attack on America's most decorated ship, the USS Liberty, 59th anniversary of the war crime. In this historic report, Massey addressed the key issue in context with Israel's current attempts to pass legislation effectively turning our military and intel agencies over to them. But again, they have 97% of the senators are on their payroll. So, you know, this is how things get done. False flags, oh yeah, false flags are very, very real. You know, it's what happens. Many people understand about 9/11 and certain people that didn't show up to work that day. We also understand, you know, the buildings changing hands and having insurance put on them right before their destruction. Yeah, hopefully he does stay safe, because hopefully he's not controlled opposition. Hopefully he's actually legit. You know, the thing is, some people want to take away the illusion that we're free and just let us know that, you know, we haven't been free. This is the WEF.
About financial capital, about cash, financial assets, but we know that's not the only value on which our economies depend. We know that every aspect of every part of the economy is fundamentally dependent on nature, as you highlighted. The air that we breathe, the water we drink.
And otherwise, you know, water, soil, and oxygen is not infinitely accessible to all. They're assets. They should be included on the global economic balance sheets. Again, they want to charge you on how much air you're breathing. They already do charge us for the water we drink. And it's just crazy. When will humans say enough? You know, because it's well past time. This is Zuckerberg's little ship. Look at the size of that thing. You know, they want net zero, and he's got a 287-foot mega yacht. And obviously, people like Zuckerberg and Bezos and Gates, they give off as much carbon emissions as most little towns and maybe even some small cities just themselves. This is beyond ridiculous. It's time for the peasants to make their voice heard.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You know, this is just something that it's going to keep going on until.
Absolutely. And then here in Oregon, rainwater falling on your own land doesn't belong to you. We've talked about this multiple times. Gary Harrington built 3 reservoirs on his 170-acre property to collect rainwater and snowmelt for fire protection. The state demanded he drain every drop. All the water belongs to us. He refused. They hit him with 9 misdemeanors, jailed him for 30 days, fined him more than $15,000. That government needs to be removed. I mean, that is not a government that's looking out for the welfare of all. It's a government that's just simply leeching off of everybody and really truly hindering public safety. For instance, with that water reservoir, if something breaks out, he doesn't have to just wait for the authorities who might be busy with dozens of other properties. He could literally save the lives of animals and his family. But no, they make them drain the whole thing. That's beyond ridiculous. You just got to wonder how do we accept this?
So what about those who are enforcing those laws too? The police officers, they have a choice.
Well, that's where, again, they count on people wanting their job, and again, the people that get promoted, often they're the ones that are the yes men, the yes women. They're people that just go along with whatever the system wants, and then you get promoted. I was in the corporate world, and I never made it to upper management because I always got disillusioned, saw what they were doing, and I would end up leaving that company because I couldn't stand the injustices that I was seeing. Once you really get to know these corporations, they are soulless. They are all soulless, and the government is soulless. Again, government breaks down into two words: govern, and then the ment stands for your mind. So govern is control, and ment is your mind. They are controlling your mind. They are controlling your words, your acts, and your deeds. They are controlling everything. And i.e., the government has literally turned us into economic slaves.
Well, yeah, I think when Mike was, this bothers me every time I hear it, when he was running the retirement communities and actually coming in and making them better, they were charging people $2,500 a month rent to live at these places, but they're only allowed to spend like $275 on a meal.
We had a budget. So when I learned what our food budget was, and I worked for a big company, and I'm just sharing my own personal experience, because I don't even know if they're in business anymore. They definitely went through some huge changes. Yeah, they were bought out. Holiday by Atria, Holiday Retirements, where I worked, and I was in a good dozen of them. I was a troubleshooter, so they would send me to one that was failing, and usually it was all about morale, and people were just unhappy. And so, it was my job to turn it around and to fill the buildings, which I enjoyed because it usually involved doing things like bringing in good entertainment, bettering the food that was offered, giving a personal touch to people. I made it my priority to hug as many people every day as I could. And, that in some circles is like a no-no. But, when you look to the seniors that were being in these places, a lot of them, were kind of dropped off by their families. It was almost like adult daycare in some ways. Their families would drop them there. They'd come and visit from time to time. And, it was sad to see how lonely so many of them were. And, I enjoyed trying to make people happy by bringing a sense of community and that type of thing. But when I found out that your daily allowance per person for 3 meals, I was only able to spend an average of $2.56 for 3 meals a day for the average person that was there. We were charging $2,500 to $4,000 a month for food and rent, and this was 3 meals a day. How can you give somebody 3 meals with $2.56? The food came from the biggest giants in the world, that SYS company, and so obviously the food couldn't have been the greatest quality at a time when you need good nutrition. It was just a real eye-opener for me, even though it was some of the most fun I've had in a corporate position. It was a super eye-opener for just how cheaply these big corporations get by with things. And even so, I did see that many people had ultimately a very good time there, regardless of how little was spent or how little you were allowed to actually spend on their food allotment.
I know. I mean, who wouldn't have a good time with Mike in charge? I mean, who wouldn't feel better? Who wouldn't feel good? But it is really heartbreaking when you are doing something to better humanity, especially taking care of our elders. I mean, what a prioritized position, what an honored position to be able to care for our elders, but you have to do it in a certain way that's heartbreaking to watch. And you don't have the funds to pull out of your own pocket to care for those that have given so much of their lives to humanity in some way, shape, or form. So yeah, it's tough out there to do the right thing by people and work for these giant companies that have all this money. It's just not fair right now. It's not fair.
No, I feel the energy that comes off of companies like Monsanto, for instance. It's as dark as any demonic force in the world to me. This is RFK Jr. talking about them, by the way.
Both the couples were sick. We asked the jury for $1 billion, and they gave us $2.2 billion. And they did that because we were able to show them documents that showed Monsanto knew of the danger and then worked with corrupt officials, a guy called Jess Rowland inside of EPA, who was the head of the pesticide division, and that they had deliberately concealed the science, fixed the science, and now the big study that they used to prove safety has now been retracted.
Yeah, I think I saw an article.
That says it all right there. They're not only soulless, these corporations are not only soulless, but at their essence, they're truly kind of diabolical. And if that's just my own personal feelings.
Oh, yeah, you're just cynical.
Yeah. Here you go. And this is over in Albania. The Albanian government announces the halt of Kushner and Ivanka Works project and the suspension of the project. The crowds refuse to go home until they make sure that the project's fully canceled. Again, we have to push back everywhere. We can't let these billionaires control the entire world for themselves. That's what they've been doing, and blocking all of us from even participating in things that are they should be fundamental.
Yes, and there are things that we can do, and the Albanian people, apparently they got uncomfortable enough to leave their homes and do what it takes to demand fairness, and I think that's what we're all going to have to do. We're all going to have to each agree to be somewhat uncomfortable to make things fair, to level the playing field, to make things equal, because I think so much of it is you guys, they don't want the competition. Good hearts get up there, and that just causes problems. That causes problems for them when you're doing the right thing. And, if we were to get healthy and we were to feel better, we would run circles around these maniacs.
Deadly blow to the president of European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde. Switzerland approves a referendum to guarantee the permanent use of cash. They will not be taking cash away. It's going to stay permanently, according to this legislation. 73% of voters backed an initiative to ensure the permanent availability of cash in the country, which cannot be replaced by virtual money. With cash, the 2030 agenda cannot be implemented. This is beautiful. We need to keep pushing on things like this. People are wondering too. I mean, Bitcoin is down to it's in the sewers. It's gotten so low. I mean, is crypto dying? I really feel that we are on a different timeline. I really, truly do. Again, there'll be a certain percentage that may go along with what the dark matrix wants, but they're not getting all of us, and I don't think they're going to get even maybe most of us.
I don't think so.
No, it's all being exposed. Your fresh supermarket fruits might be over a year old. A year. They're gassing them with toxic Smart Fresh, which is petroleum based. Yeah, again, we know about the Rockefeller connection between oil and health. And this is just another a thing that they're doing to extend shelf life and boost profits. Carcinogenic, genotoxic, yet approved to use on 12 fruits, including tomatoes. Yeah, again, it's horrible to see. These things are well, this is sold as Smart Fresh, post-harvest, Harvesta in orchards, Ripe Lock bananas by AgroFresh. It's used in the U.S. and 40 countries. Blocks ethylene to keep produce firm and fresh looking longer, reducing waste, but extending, again, shelf life. Now, they say it's non-toxic and no risk, but they've told us that a million of times with many other things that have been proven to be just the opposite of what they said. Key concerns, 2 impurities, 1 CMP and 3 CMP. They're genotoxic and carcinogenic. So you really don't want to, again, be taking these things in. It's just a sad situation. We need to rework the entire system. And Emma, I hope that you're out there still. Your body was always capable of regrowing teeth. The gene was never missing. It was suppressed. Japan just proved it by unblocking it with a single injection. In September 2024, Kyoto University began human trials on a drug that regrows teeth in adults. 1 injection, new teeth in 9 weeks. No implants, no dentures, no surgery. The drug deactivates USAG1, a protein that blocks tooth regeneration. Removes the block, the tooth grows, like it was always meant to. Yes, again, 90% of our genes are junk DNA? No. We've had most of our genes turned off. The majority of our genes were turned off. This is when the Anunnaki claimed that they created humans as a slave race. They didn't upgrade us. They gave us some things that we didn't have that you could maybe view as an expansion in consciousness in some ways, but a retraction in many more. And they limited our lifespan right there where it says God will strive with man no more. He won't live any longer than 120 years. 2nd chromosome fusion. This is turning off all these genes that now nature is turning back on. I think it will continue to turn on as time goes. So here you go. It was a block. We can regenerate teeth. Could we even regenerate limbs? Why not? We have a reptilian part of our brain. And, as we know, some things like salamanders and some lizards, they can regrow tails. Again, we don't know the real science. They've given us, in my opinion, a lot of sales.
We have no clue of the real science. A starfish can regrow limbs. You can chop a hammerhead worm into 20 pieces and it'll make 20 more hammerhead worms. There's ways out there. We just haven't been shown yet. We haven't been shown the way. And again, it goes back to something that's very, very unfair, something where not everyone can afford. But what if everyone could afford? I think that would level the playing field. It would just frighten the controllers if we all felt good and if we were all healthy. That would really, really, really frighten them. And some folks just don't want to see other folks do well. That's just the nature of so many, and it's very unfair. And I have to share something with you guys. When I was I was going through something, some of you might remember I had a blood disorder. I was really struggling. I was very sick, and I was very extremely anemic, and I was having tooth problems. And through my journey, I realized that a lot of my teeth problems was through my gut. It was actually my gut was inflamed and I was unable to absorb the nutrients. And part of that inflammation was, I hate to say it, it was natural sugar. It was just honey, but even just the honey was inflaming my gut and making it so I was really in a lot of pain with my mouth. And I ended up taking copious amounts of turmeric and ginger, and believe it or not, over time, and I cut out the sugar, that resolved my teeth issues. No more dentist. And I probably spent, I don't know how much money I spent at the dentist, and they kept telling me there is nothing wrong with you. And here I am laying screaming in pain. It's like, yeah, oh, yes, there is. And there was no reason for them to do any work on my teeth because it was all in my gut. So when the gut is inflamed from eating sugar, it can cause tooth problems. So tackle that gut, and your teeth will thank you for it. I know it seems like a stretch that those two are connected, but they certainly are. And again, it just goes to one of those things that we don't know. We just don't know until we either figure it out ourselves, or until someone brings the light to us and says, here you go.
Yeah, this is pretty fascinating. Again, it's just to get fluoride in the body so your pineal gland's calcified and your perceptive ability is not that good. That's basically it. Multiple people witnessed a helicopter come in to check out this donut-shaped UFO. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Again, we're getting close to Disclosure Day in the new Spielberg movie. This is our buddy there, the angry astronaut. He was talking about something very large and very weird in the asteroid belt. We enjoy him. And again, the thing that struck me was this Alpha Centauri and Proxima Centauri, because we've talked about Nibiru, but where really is Nibiru? Again, we perceive Nibiru as being very real, but it's more like a mothership. It is a planet. It was a planet, but I think it's more turned into a mothership at this point in time. But when you look at the Sumerian stories about, the Anunnaki coming from a system that's very close to us, very close proximity to us. And I start thinking the nearest stars are Alpha Centauri and Proxima Centauri, 4 light years away. And, the whole part of his little video here is just saying that we had a rash of UFO sightings after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And if it took like 4 years for them to get here, if they were traveling at the speed of light. But again, I think the thing that people are going to realize now is it's not unusual for beings to have the technology to open portals. And you could get kind of anywhere you want to if you have the technology. But could it be that Nibiru is originally, was it coming from like one of these star systems, like very close to us? Because in the Sumerian tablets, it sounds like they got to be really close to us. I think, again, it's more of a ship, so they could direct it anywhere. And we've actually gotten from our guides, and when Cindy was in trance, that they actually use a black hole to move the whole planet from one place to another. And it's outside the orbit of Neptune and Uranus, and the galactics won't let it get any closer this time.
Oh, I cannot wait until the day comes where I can just pull the portal out of my closet and just go see my friend, because I have some friends that make some amazing food, and I would just love to grab a bite. And Mike makes amazing food too, and we just have no one to share it with, but the puppies do appreciate it. The chickens, when they get a bite, they're certainly grateful. And wouldn't it be nice if it were that easy to come hang out with each other? Wouldn't that be great if instead of the lives and being all separated, we could just, boom, show up in my front yard right now, which I have some really beautiful rose bushes and a really pretty bird fountain, and the deer come and say hi too. If only we all just had a portal we could pull out of our closet and just do it. Wouldn't that be great?
Absolutely. So it's that time for dings, and we want to thank everybody again for your support. Thank you very much, Mr. Meeks. It's a pleasure to see you guys and to be sharing with you guys every night. Tomorrow is going to be a pretty busy day for us, but I think we could put out that we'll try to go live 6 p.m. Central tomorrow. And, hopefully everybody can make it again. I'll try to get it out there as early as possible so you can make your plans and join in again.
Okay, so I really want to ask for continued prayers and energy healing to Miss Trina and Grace right now, please. They're in a critical situation. And of course, Lori and Steve ongoing, and our dear friend Carrie as well. All these situations are dire. So your love and your attention, and you're asking guides and angels, and putting it out there to the universe that help arrives somehow, some way, is very much appreciated. And here's some dings. Here we go. You guys are the most wonderful chat on YouTube. Thank you so much for all of your support and everything that you do. We definitely could not do this work without all of your help. Truly, we just would be dead in the water without you guys. Thank you so much.
Loka samasta suki no bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my own thoughts, words, acts, and deeds contribute to the happiness and freedom of all. Much love, everybody. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Namaste.